Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Good. Right. Some Samantha Dragonati. Links in the description. Right. Just setting up the tech. All right, please like the stream as we get into it today. Ooh, lots to go over. I couldn't even fit it all in the title. Go ahead and pause that. So we're starting off with a story that I couldn't even fit everything I wanted into my title today. So we're going over a lot today. The first story at hand, I already had it planned for today, but even my Discord was trying to make me aware of it, which I always appreciate. We have a tab in the Discord called, like requests for stream, cover this topic. And so we're going to go ahead and cover it today. Another student was detained by ICE, and these are the ones we're hearing about, and just remember there are going to be ones we're not hearing about. And I want you to remember that feeling you get in your body when you're driving a car and you hear the sirens behind you and you think they're coming for you. That anxiety times a gajillion is the anxiety this woman is feeling right now.
Outrage from local lawmakers after federal agents detained tough student and Turkish national Ramisa Öztürk. Last year, she co-authored an op-ed critical of the war in Gaza.
This idea that one can lose their constitutional rights for speaking out based on, and then lose, to lose everything for that, it's just really terrifying.
The Attorney General says this isn't public safety. It's intimidation that will and should be closely scrutinized in court. My office is closely monitoring this matter as it develops. Representative Ayanna Pressley says this is a horrifying violation of Ramisa's constitutional rights to due process and free speech. She must be immediately released.
When you obtain a legal status to be here through a visa, that isn't a permission slip to adhere.
Like, imagine that I'm here in Croatia. I've been given a visa to temporarily stay. I do the paperwork to follow the rules. I do my best to follow the rules here. And imagine they arrested me because, gay marriage is unconstitutional here and I have a gay flag on my stream. It's like, oh, but except in Croatia, they don't have the same free speech laws. So maybe it would make sense. And maybe if I learned the rules, I'd act different. But in America, a beacon of free speech, the one place in the world that is supposed to be the place to express yourself, you know what I'm saying? That is why it's so troubling, is that America is supposed to be the place for free speech. I mean, we allow free speech so heavily in America that the ACLU many, many years ago defended Nazis' rights to express themselves. That's how free speech America is, that we let, hatred and bigotry be so a part of our mainstream because we, at the end of the day, are supposed to be valuing free speech. So we need to be very careful. And this is truly an issue of free speech. Usually when people complain about free speech, it's within companies, but this is the government coming in to take away people's legal status because they don't like the way they are. And again, if they're equating free, Palestine to supporting terrorism, we have to be paying attention to, this tactic has been used before. It's not new, right? And this is why I think we do have to question, and this is why we always have to really hold ourselves accountable first and foremost, because we as a population do stand by and let this happen. We as a population do vote in particular ways. We as a population don't stand up when it counts, because not because you're necessarily bad, but because you might not know how to be good. And this is why we just have to do less bad. I know that it's more complicated than we think. There are actually psychological things at play here, like the bystander effect, where you might see this woman being arrested and you might not know how to protect her, or you might be afraid they're going to arrest you. So many people are being arrested and taken to different places. Their family and friends only realize they're missing when they see them on TV news reports. This isn't as simple But I think that's why we have to promote this idea of compassion, because we're so devoid of it. This is what's happening. That's why I say, and I see this when I just saw a video this morning about a Cuban man being detained by ICE while he was taking out his trash. And people in the comments were like, the moment I heard he was Cuban, I didn't care, since Cuban Americans voted for Trump. But I just want like everybody to recognize that lack of compassion is what leads the Trump administration into feeling empowered to arrest other people, whether they voted for Trump or not, because at the end of the day, they're not going to protect anybody. So like empathy and compassion is so important right now, but take your bitterness and talk to your therapist about it. Don't perpetuate that hate on the internet that people are going to see, and then think, yeah, I can discriminate against Cuban Americans because they voted for Trump. Not every Cuban American voted for him. And more than that, like, you don't know this man's story, right? So again, like, we want to do what's right on our end, even if they don't. But if you are that bitter and that angry, I get it. Talk to your therapist about it. Don't continue to spread it on the internet, like, because ultimately it's not going to help anybody.
Here to a certain political view.
Senator Elizabeth Warren says the Trump administration is targeting students with legal status and ripping people out of their communities without due process. This is an attack on our Constitution and basic freedoms, and we will push back. It comes a week after ICE arrested hundreds in Massachusetts.
We live in a country with laws and constitutional rights, and it's important that we have transparency to understand what exactly took place.
Governor Healy saying Ozturk's arrest could hurt the state.
So I'm very concerned that actions by the Trump administration to signal to students in other countries, don't come to Massachusetts. That's a very bad thing.
So again, that rally getting underway shortly, and you can see streams of people actually heading toward it. We can tell you that State Senator Pat Jalen told us tonight this reminds her of the McCarthy era, and the mayor of Somerville also saying this student has a right to both free speech and due process. We're live in Somerville.
And that's really what this is about. Imagine again, once again, that you're driving and you hear the police sirens behind you. And just that anxiety you feel in the spike of your body, like, oh my God, I'm going to get a ticket. Now imagine, oh my God, I'm going to get arrested. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh my God, I'm going to be taken away. So, sorry, Chet says, Brittany, chat, I'm going to campus protest on campus today. I'm in Canada, but McGrill campus has been arresting people like crazy. Any advice? Let people know where you're at. Make sure you have people who are waiting for you to come home. Make sure you have people know that if you don't come home, they should do something about that. I think anytime you go out to protest, what's necessary is making sure that you have things in place to, in case anything goes wrong, right? So make sure you have people standing by and waiting for you, just like you would go if you went on a date with somebody and you made sure somebody had your location, turn your location on, see if people can watch it. You know what I mean? So, you know, WeChat says, thankfully, I'm going with a group of people I know. Yeah, but if all of you get arrested, who on the outside is going to help, right? So, like, it's good you're going with a group of people you know, but what if you all get arrested? You know, what if you all get in trouble? So, like, somebody who's not there should know. I would recommend somebody who's not there, you know what I mean? But otherwise, you know, good for you for going and being a part of it and showing up. You know, everyone shows up at their right time. If you feel like you're ready to show up, you can. There's this new TikTok trend. Have you guys seen it? Where it's like, hey, the biggest protest is happening April 4th. Everyone's getting together. But then Black TikTok is like, got this soundtrack that's saying like, sit your ass down, like from their ancestors' voice, and they're not showing up. And I don't know what's going on. I think I'm out of the loop, but I know Black communities have come out to protest, and I don't know if they're just tired and so they don't want to come out this time, or the comment sections are confusing because it's all like white people saying like, sit down, you've done enough, I'll do it from here. And I don't know what's going on. Does anybody know anything about that bubble? I'm very confused at the conversations that are happening. Like, I don't know what's happening, but even the most prominent like Black content creators I watch are doing the trend, and I don't know what I don't get it. You know what I mean? I think I get it, you know, but I'm not sure. But the comment sections are cringe, bro. Like, white people just being like, Black people do enough. Like, you're so great. I don't know. It just sounded really weird. Like, I don't know. Like, it made me uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable. I don't know. But you don't always have to protest at every protest. So if that's what it's about, that kind of makes sense to me. But yeah, I don't know. That confused me when I saw it. Okay. Speaking of propaganda, this other video is going viral relating to Elon, and I cannot tell if she is trolling Elon or if she's trolling us. And the reason I say this is progressive TikTok is convinced this woman is an Elon person, but I went through her profile and it feels like it almost feels like she's trolling Elon, but I'm not sure. Okay. So let's watch the content that is going viral. Very small content creator, by the way. This girl has like 500 subscribers, but 100,000 views in 3 days because it's going viral on TikTok. Watch this and then tell me, like, are we being trolled right now? What is this? And like the stream because I'm probably gonna get copyrighted.
He gave us cars that drive so fast, made rockets built to blast. Oh, thank you, Elon Musk.
Okay.
He took over Twitter's reign. He saved free speech for all, eliminating woke pain. SpaceX flies, Tesla self-drive, Starlink beams with
kind of a banger, though.
laser dreams. He's got a master plan for our lives. Let's occupy Mars. Let's occupy Mars. And making kids to keep mankind alive. Neuralink is on the way. Boring tunnels save the day. Oh, thank you, Elon Musk.
This is a troll, right? She's trolling Elon.
Fighting fights for freedom's sake. Politics, he's not afraid. He won't just sit and watch.
Oh, okay.
SpaceX flies, Tesla self-drive, Starlink beams with laser dreams. He's got
Kind of a banger.
master plan for our lives. One more kid, one more brand, launching rockets
come
with
on.
just one hand.
Come on.
Optimus, Cybercat to what can this man do?
There's no way. One more
It's
kid.
taxes, fraud, some solid memes. Corruption won't stay. And Doge saving USA. So here's to you, our tech tycoon, saving Earth and Mars real soon. We thank you, Elon Musk. One more kid, one more brand, launching rockets with just one hand. Optimus, Cybercat to what can this man do? Oh, thank you, Elon Musk.
There's no fucking way this isn't fake, bro. So, okay, I'm confused because, like, okay, you go to her like main page, and obviously the only video that she has up is this song. Okay, and it's Alexandra Bashar, all in Tesla humor. My comedy is so soft you won't even feel the hit. My pronouns are ha 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 ha. Wife, homeschool mom, Tesla, and comedy lover. Full content on X. What is this? I cannot tell, but it feels like she's memeing on Elon. But I don't know. Like, it feels so. It's so funny, but it's kind of making fun of him. I feel like I cannot tell because it literally. I feel like if I was insulting Elon, this is the song I would have written. That's why I'm confused. And chat is saying it's AI. It probably is AI, but it's just so confusing. Yeah, either way, it's a joke. Either way, it is satire, right? It's like supposed to be funny. Yeah, I have a feeling, this is my theory. I'm hoping she's a liberal trolling conservatives and making money off them thinking it's real. Because you remember when Stephen Colbert pretended to be a Republican on his late night show? That was like his shtick. There were Republicans who didn't know it was satire. So they thought he was a real Republican. So my theory is that they're going to think she's really Elon fan, but she's not. And the song's a banger. So, you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking, but I can't tell. And the fact that I can't tell, I think is the point, you know? I don't know. I just couldn't figure this out. I needed your advice. I needed your input, your wisdom, you know? Chat says she said she has a Twitter. Is her Twitter context, right? I don't have X anymore. Like, I don't have a Twitter. I don't have an X account. And when you try to go to X, 99.9% of the time they make you log in. So I don't look at Twitter anymore. I don't see it. I don't see people's tweets. I don't know what you're doing there. I'm happy to say my mental health has improved 25%. Just like these tariffs. You know what I mean? I'm improved. So, you know, if somebody else wants to check it out and screenshot it, but I don't know. I can't even check her account to see. Does she even have a link in here? Yeah, she doesn't even have a link to her X account. Yeah, so interesting. It says she has 2 videos on her channel, but I can't actually see them. See? Two videos, which means, is there a video that's unlisted somewhere? I don't know. But she's trying to do something. All right. Let's move on to a sad story, and then we'll get into the more intense stories for today. This story is literally right now getting pushed into the media, so we're still learning more about it. But there's some part of this conversation that I want to have out loud because of the way people are, you know, depending on which news source you get for the story, people are coming away with different perspectives. This is titled, Doctor Allegedly Tried to Kill His Wife on a Hawaii Trail. If you guys haven't seen it already, here's a little summary of what's happening.
A mystery in Hawaii. Did a respected doctor try to murder his wife in one of the most scenic tourist spots in the Aloha State? Authorities say the anesthesiologist tried to push her off a hiking trail and even hit her in the head with a rock, then left her for dead. As Jim Murray reports, what makes it more shocking is the fact it was her birthday.
Terror on this breathtaking hiking trail in Hawaii after police say a prominent doctor attempted to push his wife off a cliff and struck her head multiple times with a rock. Dr. Gerhard Koenig allegedly attacked his wife Ariel on her 36th birthday near this Lookout Point tourist attraction. So what led to the alleged assault? Dr. Koenig reportedly lashed out when his wife refused to take a photo with him on the scenic route and tried to stab her with syringes. Cops say 2 women stumbled upon the attack and chased off the doctor, who fled on foot.
I saw 3 girls coming down from there. And one of them was all bloodied up. Somebody up there bashed on her head.
An all-out manhunt for the doctor was launched by air and by ground. Police blocked off the popular Palipuka hiking trail in Honolulu, and all tourists were turned away. 7 hours later, cops say after a brief foot pursuit, they found the doctor hiding in the bushes and arrested him for attempted murder. Here's what we're learning about Dr. Gerhard Koenig. He's an anesthesiologist who provided services at Maui Memorial Medical Center and has now been suspended. His wife, Ariel, is a nuclear engineer. Before moving to Hawaii, Dr. Koenig worked at the University of Pittsburgh, also known as Pitt, the name of Max's new popular medical drama.
Welcome to the Pit.
Now everyone wants to know, how did things go so wrong?
The doctor's wife is currently listed in critical condition, suffering from multiple facial and head injuries.
Bro, what the Okay, so obviously the man was definitely trying to kill her. The syringe part threw me. So initially, depending on how you heard the story, this is the most detailed video I could find on the story. But on TikTok, when I first came across the story, it didn't have the syringe part. So initially, it was just, he wanted to take a photo and she wouldn't take a photo. So he got angry at her and hit her with a rock, which almost sounds like insanity. But then you realize he was holding syringes on him, which in that way makes it premeditated. So then you're looking at them and you're thinking, hey, you could just, I don't know, leave the relationship. I don't know why so many humans turn to murder. And I've been trying to figure this out because I try to stay away from true crime because I think it's just like really negative and it makes you think like everybody's out to get you when they're not. But we do watch Ray William Johnson, like my partner and I, we do like a little bit of Ray William, and Ray will go over these, crime stories. And it's amazing how many people just kill people. And I'm like, why would you do this? Like, I am so like, not really, but kind of like if I tell like even the slightest little like misinformation, I think this is my autism. If I tell like even the slightly amount of misinformation at this stage of my life, I'm like worried people are going to misconstrue it, or maybe that's my trauma from being on the internet for so long. But I'm like, I would feel so bad. Like I would feel so bad lying or deceiving people, which by the way, I have a whole video coming out about a romantic comedy that just came out and how the whole thing is just so deceptive and horrible and consent violating. And I would just feel so bad. And then here it is being played in this movie. Like it's so cute, right? This man, what is wrong with his brain that he's like, this is my only solution? This is what I am trying to figure out about humans. Is this his like, if we're these biological creatures, we've evolved over millions of years, he's come to this conclusion, like how does he go through school, have a job, socialize, get married, and then his only solution, he's like, what should I do in this, like why? And obviously it probably just didn't come out of anywhere. It probably was abusive, right? Like Chet's saying, it was probably abusive, maybe even right into the marriage, who knows? But it's like, why does your brain do that? And I would like to know. Now, I have seen some interviews and I have listened to some psychologists who work with psychopaths in prisons. And apparently, from my limited understanding, there is a correlation between like lower functioning, like cognitively impaired psychopaths who lack the sort of ability to problem solve better to sort of get away with their crimes. And then there's ones who are like kind of those like, I think the ones we see in TV shows that are like Dexter or something, or Dexter's not quite a psychopath, but he's a sociopath. But even that is not exactly told correctly. Let me think of I can't think of an example, maybe like Hannibal Lecter in like the new series with Mads, maybe, I don't know. The point is there's like the ones who are like serial killing because they're kind of psychopathic, and then they're the ones who are like lower, higher functioning, however we want to say that. But they end up in prison a lot. They end up in prison because they can't figure out how to do it correctly. And then I kind of look at these people and I think like, do you not know how to kill somebody correctly? And not that I would know how to do this, because I also think that's a mistake we make by watching so many films. We think like we could kill somebody, but like I don't think I could kill somebody and get away with it. No matter how many times I've seen You, I'm pretty sure plot armor is saving this man from getting caught. Joe should have been caught like 1,000 trillion times, you know? So I kind of think what is going through their minds. And I'm curious about the people who are studying it. I want to know the findings of why people end up making these decisions. I think it's easy for us who aren't doing the research to just be like, he's a misogynist, write him off. Yes, he could be a misogynist, probably is a misogynist, definitely a misogynist. But also, what is happening in his brain where like this was the decision he made? That's what I want to know. What is something missing? Was he born a particular way? Did he truly just make this decision? But like, why would he do it in public, in front of people? Why would it be in that moment? Even if he was like a conniving serial killer, wouldn't he have done it without risking getting caught? It just feels sloppy. I just don't get it. I don't know. Maybe he was, I don't know. A lot of people now I know don't leave relationships who are murderers because they want like the life insurance, or they want that stuff. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh my God. Oh, my allergies have been absolutely insane. I ran out of my allergy pills. We're working on getting me a prescription. I hope it works. Fingers crossed. Apparently it's really good if you get a prescription from the doctor. Woo! Okay. Chet says, yeah, like what was the logic? What was he hoping for? What was he hoping for? Okay, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and link that news story in chat so you guys can go ahead and check it out on your own time. Yeah, I don't get it. Okay. Okay, hold on. I gotta blow my nose. Oh my God. Oh my God. My allergy. Oh. You think so, chap? Hold on. That said, I think it's the way that men see their wives as properties. You think so? You think this guy was just run-of-the-mill, like, misogynist who's like, my wife is my property, I'm going to kill her on a Hawaiian trail? Maybe? I don't know. Sometimes I think there are a lot of people who kill their partners because they want to be with other people. Maybe he had, like, another person he was dating, which is kind of crazy in and of itself. Could you imagine, like, you're dating somebody and they're like, I want to be with you, but I have to kill someone first, which, by the way, I've seen those crime videos. I've seen those crime videos of two people dating, having an affair, and the person they're cheating with is like, yeah, kill your wife so you can be with me. Yeah, Chris Watts. But see, did that girl know that he murdered? Because I think she's in protective. Isn't she in witness protection now? The girl he was having the affair with. Don't hang out with cheating men, guys. They're consent violators. You know? They're consent violators. Crazy. Chat says, why are we not talking about how this man was a doctor? Why do most dangerous people pick healthcare jobs? For the same reason that pedophiles become teachers and doctors and gain access to kids. Like, you might think it's heroic. Be like, oh my God, that's so nice. So, like, you're working with kids, but like, that's what the pedophiles do. They work with children. Like, yeah. Like, that's where, you know what I mean? So I think healthcare is just money making, gives you accessibility and freedom. It's a status symbol. And, you know, probably made him feel good about himself in a lot of ways. I think I grew up always thinking like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? A police officer, a fireman, a teacher, a doctor. These are what good people do. Good people do these jobs. Assholes also do these jobs. Okay? Like, perfectly bad people do these jobs as well, you know? Oh, chat says Britt Alexandra is a transphobe who homeschools because her kids' teachers came out as trans. Please know she is trolling liberals. The left is the left, not the other way around. Damn. Well, she wrote a banger of a song if she was making fun of Elon. If she's not making fun of Elon, then it's not a banger of a song. It's only funny if you're making fun of Elon. You know? You remember how we joked about this? Like, oh, I'm going to grift. I'm going to be like a grifter. But then somebody in chat was like, don't become a grifter, because at the end of the day, even if it's a joke, you're still promoting like right-wing propaganda, which is true, right? It's like, even if I pretended to troll the right by pretending to be one of them, ultimately that means I'm putting out more content that's like really negative. Though I will say, I do think Stephen Colbert did it pretty well. I think he trolled the right pretty, yeah, with it like reasonably, I think. Yeah, Chess says, how is she trolling the left? She just looks like a fool to us. She literally looks like she's making fun of Elon. I'm so confused. You know? That is so confusing to me. I don't know. I never know people. I just watched Ryan Beard make a video. They made a video about gamers and how this, like, there's content creators who make content just like feeding into your prejudice and bigotry, but they don't even do the research. And Ryan just went and did the research and was like, bro, like, are you deliberately manipulating your audience to be mad at trans people when like this wasn't even a trans person who said this? And I don't know. I think so, though. I think a lot of conservatives don't care about doing the research. They just make money because, like, that's how, I'm so sorry, but like that's why the stereotype of conservatives is so real. Like, you are so uneducated. You are so not curious. You're not even slightly interested. Look, for all the ignorance liberals have, for all of the inability to be introspective that liberals can have, they are never even close to the numbers of conservatives. Conservatives are just so good at not looking into things. They're just so good at it. Like, they're professional, lacking in curiosity bubbles. It's kind of amazing. Like, it's like, just check. Like, be suspicious. Be a little curious. You all are so suspicious about landing on the moon. You can't be a little suspicious about the transphobia. They like pick the weirdest things to be like suspicious about. Ooh, vaccines. Landing on the moon. I don't know about that. But like, you don't want girls, please. Anyways. Okay. Now, this story, girls. Okay. You know, when you're not in a book talk bubble, when you're not in the book bubble, and you hear Brittany on stream say, I've read a couple thousand books, plus probably more than that now. I just stopped counting, around a couple thousand. People think it's like a humble brag, but you know, when you're around readers, that's nothing. That's pussy numbers, okay? When you read books, you know what I mean? You love books. Let's be so for real right now. Brittany is doing pussy numbers, okay? I'm not even close to some of these girls, some of these boys, some of these theys, okay? That really be out here probably reading 10,000 books, okay? I'm not even there yet, girl. And I know, because every time I go on Book Talk, I'm like, damn, I'm behind. Like, Book Talk is in it. They are reading books, and I am not reading books at the level they are reading books at this point. So I just know Okay. I am missing out on some tea. So let's jump into the book talk bubble and talk about something that just happened recently. It's a very confusing case, actually. I'm almost like befuddled by it, honestly. I'm going to show you this picture and I warn you ahead of time. What does this make you? Well, it might make you feel icky, but what does it make you feel? Are you ready for this? Are you ready for this? Fuck. Okay. Daddy's Little Toy by Tori Woods. How do we feel about this book cover? Just express it to me. How do we feel about this book cover? You know? How do we feel about it? What does it evoke in us? What do we feel? How do we, you know what I'm saying? What do we, what are we saying here? Now, hold on. Chat said Melanie Martinez would love this. Okay, hilarious. I want to say something. I feel like young people who are stunted in their adolescence and recreate it through art in their 20s, I'm going to give a lot of excuses to, like a lot of explanation, like a lot of reasoning for it. So like, I get it. Melanie Martinez is always under fire for this, but I'll be real. Like, I understand why she went through that phase because she was still so young. When you're older though, you are supposed to in some way like grow out of it in a sense. Like I certainly grew out of my phase of being in this part of feeling like expressing myself in a younger sense. You guys know I'm aging into my 40s. I'm not saying 40-year-olds can't there's a difference between dressing like children and dressing youthful and colorful. Older people don't have to dress like toddlers, right? You know what I'm saying? Like it's different. But I will say like niche communities might feel attacked right now, and I don't mean to do that to you, right? I'm not trying to like attack any underground communities. I'm just trying to say like there is a difference between this, right? And other things that we're dealing with. So this book is very particular. Okay, Tori Woods, an Australian author, has been charged with producing child sexual abuse material in her novel, Daddy's Little Toy. The book explores the relationship between a young woman and her father's friend, The Independent reported. Sydney-based author Lauren Teslin Mastrasa, who writes erotic fiction under the pen name Tori Woods, is facing backlash after the release of her novel, Daddy's Little Toy. Well, the book's promotional materials describe it as a story about a barely legal 18-year-old woman. I don't know if we want to call, okay. Critics pointed out that its cover featured the title spelled out in children's toy blocks. Readers also noted that the book suggests that the father's friend had desired the protagonist since she was 3 years old. New South Wales police launched an investigation into the novel in March after receiving reports that it contained child abuse material. On Friday, around 12:30 p.m. local time, detectives arrested the 33-year-old woman in her home. 33. Authorities also executed a search warrant, seizing several hard copies of the book for forensic examination. Police confirmed that Tori Woods, or Mastrasa, has been charged with possessing, disseminating, is that how I say that, guys? And producing child abuse material. She was granted conditional bail and is scheduled to appear before Blacktown local court on March 31st. Following the backlash, she defended her work on social media, calling the controversy a big misunderstanding. She insisted the book does not promote or encourage child abuse or pedophilia. What is being said is grossly disturbing and breaks my heart as well as makes me sick, she wrote, adding that she understood why some parts of the book were being frowned upon. Disseminating. Thank you, chat. She also claimed that those involved in the book's production, including the cover, designer, and editor, were also unaware of its contents and were being wrongly attacked. In response to the controversy, she has deleted her social media accounts and the book has been removed from Amazon and Goodreads. Georgia Stove, the book's cover designer, publicly distanced herself from the author, revealing that she has received death threats. She said, I have cut ties with Tori Woods effective immediately, and all I had known about the book was a blurb, which read, barely legal, and in my mind, I truly thought it was okay. Please stop with the threats over something I had no say in. What is happening? Right? Like, okay. Now, here's how I came across this TikTok. This is how I found out about it.
Daddy's Little Toy has officially been arrested. She's facing child abuse material charges, pedophilia claims, so on and so forth. She has children, and she wrote a story about a 3-year-old who was then groomed by her dad's best friend. And it's supposed to be a taboo romance, a dark romance kind of vibe. It is neither taboo nor dark. It's just disgusting. Police have executed a search warrant so that they can grab several hard copies of the novel in order to examine them. She's been charged with possessing child abuse material, disseminating child abuse material, and producing child abuse material material. She has posted bail, but she does have to return to the court on Monday, March 31st. We will have to see how much these charges stick. Obviously, this book is absolutely disgusting, but I'm not sure if there's anything in the book that happens with the child when they are like a child versus 18, so it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. At the end of the day, just because you slap the label taboo onto something doesn't mean that it's okay, and I think authors need to recognize that obviously pedophilia is not okay in real life, nor is it okay in books, and neither is grooming.
Okay, now we're gonna keep a few of those things in mind, right? We're talking about expression of art, free speech, all of that stuff. And I will say, as a person who's read so many books, and I've read a lot of smutty books too, there was one book in particular, which I will never repeat the contents of this book because it was the most disgusting book I have ever read in my life. I tore it up and I burned it. Like, I was so upset at this book. Like, it was so gross. And that's how many times, like, I have read thousands of books. And there was, one book in particular that, like, who wrote this book? You know what I mean? Like, why is this even a thing? I think it was self-published because I remember that I had gone on the website to like report it and say like, why is this book here? And I do think that they probably got in trouble because I don't know if I've ever seen that author again. I don't even remember their name or anything. I would have to go find the book and look it up, and I don't want to do that. But it was gross. And so I like reported them. I was like, I don't know what this is. I think they were self-published from my memory, but I remember I ripped up the book and I just threw it in the trash. And I was like, that was so gross. Like, I don't even know why it was written. And then I realized like, I do think it was probably written for somebody's weird ass fantasy. You know what I mean? I don't know. Chad says, just do people feel the same way about Lolita? So, okay, let's talk about this. I have read Lolita, and I think as a novel, it is a serious work of fiction. I think it is one of the most devastating stories I've ever read in my life. I think it is truly like a work of fiction, like a work of literature. I think it is really devastatingly well written and told. I think it's a story that should leave you feeling like almost like despondent over what it means to be a person, right? So I will say, like, I think there is a difference between works of literature and works that are made to be like smutty. And I do think like writing a book that's supposed to be smutty and the central character is targeted as a 3-year-old and groomed as they get older by an older person, like this isn't like a serious work of fiction. This isn't like something that's serious. This is something that's meant to get people off. Like we should be concerned. But I also also, I look back on a lot of the romantic books that I read growing up, like a lot of the smutty books I thought were so great. And I go back and I think about them now and I'm like, man, they were so rapey. And I know there's that stereotype that women love rape in books, but I want to make it abundantly clear that you can write fantasies about consent, non-consent without it being a rape scene. And I feel like we should go in that direction. Okay? I feel like we need to go in the direction where we can write consent, non-consent without it being a rape scene, literally. But a lot of these scenes written into books are just rape scenes, you know? And I don't get it. Like, I get it because it was what people thought. I get the desire to express a fantasy through written fiction. I wish when you described your fantasy, it did involve literal rape. You know what I feel like we can do this. We can get the same emotion, the same feeling without it being rapey. But maybe that's too much of a challenge for people right now, but I think we should go that direction. You know? Again, I want to make sure we're doing this without like limiting people's expression of art while making it clear that we have to be, again, if we're aiming for a feeling, then I think you can do this in a better way, you know? Yeah, I think like chat says, some people have kinks for really fucked up taboos and want to write about it, which I don't know, girl. I think you can write about it without promoting bad things. I think you can always create art about anything without creating something that makes it look like it's condoning it. And I you know what I mean? I think that's specific. Chat says, wait, what do you mean non-consent, but not rape? If you don't mind me asking, was trying to understand. Consent, non-consent. So like consent, non-consent is I'm consenting to a role play of non-consent, which is different than rape. Obviously, what's the difference between sex and rape? The consent. So I do think there's a way we can create really sex positive, educated forms of art that aren't going to then promote normalizing abuse, right? I just think we can do it. We're smart. We can do it. You know, now, of course, you might not know about CNC, you might not know about consent, non-consent, you might not know about, you know, how to do it. But I think that's why I love a craft. Girls, hear me when I say this, please. I love a craft. I really love people learning how to express themselves in a way that isn't just bottom of the barrel. If you're going to be a writer, be a good writer. If you're going to be a smut writer, be a smut writer, but like think about what you're doing. Because I also, truly, I don't like fan fiction about real people. I think you should not be writing fan fiction about real people over the age of 17. Like, you cannot be writing fan fiction about actual people that exist. Like, I get teenagers are young, they get weird, I don't know. But when you're an adult, like, we can't be writing fan fiction about real human beings. It's so weird. It's so weird. And I think if you do it, you're weird. You're weird. You're weird. You're weird. You're weird. You're weird in a way that's not good. You're the bad weird. I'm sorry. You're the bad weird. You can't. It's just so inappropriate. It's so consent violating. It's so gross. It's so gross, you know? So we have to hold. I'm sorry. I think I'm sick, bros. I think I'm sick. My throat is so scratchy. My face is crazy. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I think we can be better. I want to challenge artists to be better, you know? That says I've never heard of consent, non-consent. I don't understand what that means. So you probably don't know what that means because it actually originated in very underground communities that were looking for ways to express an outlet for this fantasy of like, you know, that ravishment fantasy without it actually being rape. So in BDSM communities and underground communities, we use words like CNC, consent, non-consent, to explain this idea that you can fulfill a fantasy, but the root of the fantasy is consent. Everything that happens afterwards is consensual. There's safe words. It's done in a a thoughtful way, right? So the way to it's just a tool to mitigate harm, to reduce harm. It's really great. It's a really great tool, and I think more people should consider it. It's kind of like signing a this might happen if you jump out of my airplane and the parachute doesn't work. It's like you know what you're dealing with ahead of time and you're consenting to the possibilities, but you're also consenting to just like the awareness. So if you need to safe word, you can safe word and get out of it. You never want a consent, non-consent. Maybe that's not a good example. You never want a CNC scene to go into a real rape, right? Rape, what's rape? It's lacking consent. It's doing something, sexual bodily harm to a person who doesn't consent to it. That's not what we want to do. We want to avoid doing that at all costs, which means we have to value consent. Consent has to be the beginning of everything we do. Consent, non-consent. So it's not real non-consent. It's consent for the fantasy. And if the fantasy isn't going well, you can safe word out of the fantasy, right? Let's see. Chat says, should the responsibility be put on the individual creator or on platforms, publishers, and the audience to moderate these things without withholding their power, dollars, and attention, or both? It depends on where you are. If you're in the publishing company, you should be in charge of it. If you are the consumer, you should be careful what you're buying. If you're the author, you should be careful what you're writing. You know, like all of us have a responsibility to doing our end of being responsible. And it's not about being perfect. It's just about catching ourselves. And maybe I've been thinking about vampire media for a while because I love me some vampire media. But what does it mean to write a vampire novel? You know, have you guys ever read the original Dracula? Bram Stoker's Dracula? I feel like it's very well written. I think it's beautifully done. I think it's a good vampire book, right? I think it's a good story. I think there's a way to tell a story that could make sense. Like the lore of a vampire in some bubbles is the person who doesn't care about your consent. I mean, they're a murderer. They'll ravish you. They'll take control of you. They'll mind fuck you. Realistically, they are predators. And then we turn that predator into sort of the love interest to fulfill that fantasy of sort of, you know, whatever, you can come at it from 10 different angles, but that fantasy of whatever that thing X you want is, right? Whatever the X thing is. So I understand the storytelling, but I think we need to keep fantasy, and reality. But the kind of fantasies you have, I do think we should challenge ourselves no matter what way they come, like shape or form. I think we should challenge ourselves. I think we should ask ourselves, is me depicting this fantasy good or bad? It might be good, it might be bad. It's not necessarily always the fantasy you're having, but it could be why you're having the fantasy. So it goes back to why. Like, why are you having this fantasy? Why is this something you're interested in? Why does this make you excited? Again, you could have Republicans who are like, we shouldn't even have these fantasies. People are going to, you know, do this in real life. But we know in conservative states, people love their stepsister, stepbrother porn. We know in conservative states, they love the freaky deaky. So we know humans have an interest in the freaky, the taboo. The question is, do we have enough restraint and education to experience it at a distance? And if we do engage with it, can we make it consensual and healthy? If our focus was to be healthy, then I think a lot of these things wouldn't end up showing up in the same way that they do. You know? Because what do we think about the shock horror type films that push the limits of what is allowed in film? Yeah, I mean, Discord and I were having this conversation about animal abuse in films as well, because I love Idarosky's The Holy Mountain, but there's animal abuse in the film. And in other older films, same thing, there's like animal abuse. And I will say this, I would rather live without the art than have the art at the expense of other people or animals. So for me personally, I don't think any art is good if it comes at the harm of the cast or the people in the films. So some people will say, yeah, but that art couldn't have been made without needing to push boundaries. Well, then it's not good art. Good art doesn't require like abuse, but I think some people think it does. I think people have convinced themselves that the art is only real if I'm toxic. Now, stay with me here. I've been thinking about this. I talked to a friend about this the other day, where when I was young, and I think this correlates with that psychological phenomenon of trusting people who cuss because we think they're more honest. When I was young, I thought toxic relationships were more real because they said the things inside our heads we were saying out loud, or they said things in ways that were so controversial, they must have felt real, which is why edgy boys on Reddit think they're being more real because they're saying the things that upset people. But you're not being more real. You're just being deeply cruel and fucked up. So the question is, what does a very real relationship or dynamic or expression feel like or look like when it's healthy? Because you can be real and healthy. And you can also correlate this to the WASP bubble. A lot of white people will talk about how they aren't allowed to express themselves. They're not allowed to bring up their grievances. They're not allowed to say, I'm upset. And when people go off, when they're like, fuck you, you're a horrible person, this is how I feel. Now they're real. But see how the level of toxicity needs to happen in order for you to be real? Toxicity doesn't equal real. It just equals unhealthy. You can be very real without it being unhealthy. But I do think a lot of people, a lot of artists go to art because they're trying to get that out of them. They're trying to express it, right? And they're trying to express it because there is an ugliness to all of us. All of us hold evil. All of us hold ugliness. The question is, what do we do with that ugly? What do we do to move towards our joy and away from our ugly? And I think it just comes out in art. But that's why, we need to ask ourselves, like, how do I tell a story in a way that's healthy, but still pushes the boundaries? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Checking out chat. Oh, interesting. Chat says that's why I'm reducing my cussing both inside and outside my head. Interesting. I really should start. I'd get monetized more if I said fuck less. It's like chat says most, I don't know this word, Stanislavski, I can't even say this word, or method acting goes to the extremes to depict the ugly. You don't need to if you're really look at the technique, you don't have to sacrifice the health of the actor. Yeah, like that idea of method actors and I have to become as ugly as the character. You're just a bad actor. I feel like good actors don't have to method act. I feel like method acting makes no sense. Because then at that point, you're not method acting. You're just being a fucking asshole. So where's the acting come in? You know? It doesn't make sense. You know? It says, Britt, do you consider yourself an artist? Yeah, sure. I consider myself a type of artist. Sure. Yeah, I don't cough Jared Leto. Cough Jared Leto, cough a lot of them. And look, there are always these narcissistic guys that are like, oh yes, I'm a method actor. Relax. Okay, hold on. Stanislavski. Stanislavski. Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing to me. But I do think, okay, there's another part of this conversation. How do you guys feel about this? Here's another TikToker I found on the same topic. What do you think about their comments?
And or banned in your reasoning behind that is because if you are trying to argue that a piece of fiction should be censored and or banned in your reasoning behind that is because it contains morally wrong content, I'm not going to listen to you further. Even if the fiction in question contains content that does go against my personal morals, I still don't think it should be censored or banned. Because you know what? Everybody's personal morals are different, and people that you disagree with will use the moral argument to censor and ban things that you enjoy. In fact, they already do that. That is how we see things like book bannings coming back. It is the exact same argument that these people use, saying that it goes against their morals and it's corrupting people. For fiction that contains LGBT content, stories about Black people, indigenous stories, women-led stories, stories about people who may not be Christian, who may be Muslim. You cannot cherry pick censorship. You are either for censorship or you are against it. Like, what do y'all do in physical libraries when you come across something that you don't agree with? Because I promise there's content in libraries that you don't agree with. Do you demand that the library have it removed? Because if you do, that's what fascists do. There are always going to be works of fiction in this world that you either just do not agree with morally or makes you uncomfortable, and you're going to have to make your peace with that, especially in fandom. And a lot of you need to learn that AO3 is not a social media platform. It's not supposed to have an algorithm. It is an internet archive, and you cannot censor an archive. And if you are making the decision to not filter your searches, you are going to come across things that you don't like, and you're going to have to just scroll. Because I promise you, you are going to accomplish nothing by attacking people. You are not going to fix any real world problems by doing that. Trust me. Don't like, don't read, ship and let ship. If you are trying...
Okay, what do we think? So obviously, and I want to make it clear, legally, I'm anti-censorship. The government shouldn't be able to censor you unless we as a community move in a direction where we don't want Nazi symbols in hallways, right? Which is a thing in Europe. In Europe, there's government censorship for Nazi symbols as an example, which I'm not opposed to, right? But we're talking about morals and ethics as well as legality. So I want to make sure that I don't believe in censorship from the government, right? In the same way that I don't want the government telling me why I should abort my baby or why I shouldn't abort my baby. I'll make that decision. But from a personal perspective, I think we need to be careful about why that person decided to make that piece of art, or why that person decided to express themselves in a particular way, or why that person decided to pick this particular genre, or why this, you know what I mean? I think that is reasonable, right? Now, this book was self-published, and I think, if they had got it traditionally published, if it wasn't just smut, if it was something that was meant to be a real statement, that's different. And this person's right. When I go to the library, I've read so many books that are quite controversial, from bestiality related books, right? There's this whole controversy in Laurel K. Hamilton where her character Anita won't have sex with her werewolf boyfriend when he's in half werewolf form, but then eventually ends up doing it, and becomes this whole question about bestiality in books. Great question. We should talk about it. But also, I'm not that mad about it, but also as I get older, it becomes more gross to me, which is interesting. As I get older, I find these things more disgusting, which is interesting. I get an ick to them that I did not have when I was young. But Laurel K. Hamilton isn't young. She's much older than me. So she's a grown adult writing these books, and I'm a person getting into my, older years, getting icked out by that, by that book. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. I don't know. I think we need to ask ourselves, is my personal ick a reason for you not to express yourself? I don't know. I really loved Laurel K. Hamilton growing up. She really transformed my life, right? She really helped me in so many ways. I I did eventually stop reading her books, and maybe I'll go back to them, but they were too toxic. They eventually, like, the characters didn't grow up. Nobody went to therapy. Like, everybody was kind of going to therapy, but it was too much for me. I was like, okay, girl, we're 20 books in, and Anita still can't figure it out, you know? No hate. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I'm trying to let people be people, but I just want it to be healthy. But I think people are just unhealthy. And so when we make art, we are unhealthy about it. You know, the reason I private a lot of my videos is because I don't think the content's good anymore. And I think, like, I always want to put out the best content. I don't want people finding it and getting misinformation. Some people will accuse me of, like, hiding it from the world, but I'm actually just not proud of the work. I'm not, like, happy about it. Now, interesting, Anne Rice, who wrote a lot of gay fucking vampire sex scenes in her books, a lot of gay vampires, actually, as she got older, said she wasn't as proud of her vampire work. I don't know if this has changed. But as you know, she's dead now because she became a Catholic again. She wrote Jesus books, but she said she wasn't as proud of her work. I don't know that, you know, I've read Anne Rice's books. I've read, you know, I even read her Jesus book. Like, I don't know. Everyone's on a personal journey. I don't think we always have to be proud of the things we create, but I think we create them in the moment because it feels right for the era of self. Right. And I read the Sleeping Beauty series. I read the fuck out of that series. Yeah, chat. So again, I think there is a way to write these books, to tell these stories, and have it be reasonable, like, expressions of fiction. I think you can write fiction in a way that could make sense for the person and the audience. I don't think it's wrong for us to be concerned that there's a book out there, you know, with this art, you know what I mean? Like, with this art about a guy who knew a girl when she was 3. You know, I don't think it's that wrong for us to be like, I don't know about this. I don't like it. Look, if the author is proud of it, she should stand by it. And we should have a big discussion about her keeping her book on self-publishing websites, which I'm not advocating for it to be taken down. I'm advocating for people's right to be disgusted with it. But I'm not saying she has to get her book taken down, because the girl in the book is 18, right? Like, it's not like he's literally sleeping with a child. I don't think it's good. And I wouldn't want to read it. And I think it's a bad premise. And I think it's immoral. And I think it's probably unethical, but, you know, I'm not gonna advocate for people to be censored, but I'm going to question people who read it. And I'm gonna question people who write it. And I think I have a right to do that. You know, I have a right to do that. So Chad says, if it is selling, what does that tell us? I mean, it's not selling that much. It's not like it's like a New York Times bestseller, right? Some people in a niche community found out about it and actually got it to be more popular than it is and got it to be taken down. But it's not like, you know, it's not like that shit was like popping, you know? You know? I do think, again, we need to have these conversations without everyone being afraid that the government's going to come in and censor us. The government has already censored you. I don't know what we're talking about. People are being arrested for saying they're pro-Palestinian. So again, I don't know why we're pretending like the government hasn't censored us and killed us our whole lives for expressing ourselves. Like, we already know there's a problem with government censorship, right? I don't think that's the issue. The issue is, as communities, we should be able to have these conversations about the way we want the world to express itself without becoming, like, paranoid too, right? Like, again, I don't understand if we're, like, again, personally, I think this is a bubbles problem. And I think in my own life, personally, I would love to live in a world where we actually created works of art that weren't just about being edgy or making money or, like, writing smut that we think will, like, reach a really bad group. You remember that sex worker who killed herself after she kind of, I don't know why she killed herself, but allegedly it was because of all the hate she was getting from the internet, where she would AI edit herself to looking way, way younger than she was. Coconut something. I can't remember her name exactly. God rest her soul. But, like, you know, when she killed herself, people were, like, celebrating it. I am devastated that a woman grew up to get to the point where she AI changed her face to look like a 12-year-old in order to get gross men to pay for her OnlyFans. What the fuck happened to you that this was your decision in life? And don't get me wrong, when I first saw her photos, I even sent them to friends. I'm like, what is this? What is this aesthetic? Because she wasn't always looking 12 years old. But it got younger and younger and younger as time went on. And I was like, girl, what are you doing? And And I was so confused, like what coconut, what was her name? Coconut honey, coconut something. I don't know why she would do this. And then she killed herself. I'm telling you, this is a part of mental health. There's a reason conservatives, not that they're right, there's a reason they think sex workers have daddy issues. I think a lot of sex workers are incredibly unhealthy. And I think a lot of people do a lot of things because they're unhealthy. I just don't think it's only the sex workers. I think it's also the Catholics and the priests. Coconut Kitty. Thank you. Yeah, Coconut Kitty. I don't think personally that I think that's always going to be the dilemma I have, is making it sound like, oh, it's just the sex workers. But it's like not just the sex workers, bro. And it's not every sex worker. And the same way you can be like not a cult member, but be MAGA, or not be a cult member, but be a Catholic. Like you can be a sex worker without being unhealthy. So do you see, like, this is her on the right, and then she would Photoshop her photos. Okay. And apparently, like, her content became very catering to kind of pedophiles. It got worse and worse as time went on. Hold on, I want to make sure I'm not showing you anything that's gonna get me in trouble. But yeah, like she got, you know, same with Belle Delphine. Belle Delphine has gotten the same backlash. Like, hey, you're kind of appealing to pedophiles. Now, I do think, and this is, I'm working on this podcast right now. Oh my God. I hate, this is so, this might not be true, but I do think one, that if you're a content creator who's pedobaiting and you're doing it on purpose, like you have got to stop. You have got to go to therapy. Like something is deeply wrong. Like we're making a mistake. Okay. We've made a mistake. Okay. We've officially made some form of error, right? Error. This is her edited, you know, she's like these edited photos. Okay. We've made a mistake. I do think though, and this is crazy, and maybe I shouldn't even say it until I have a full thought out about it, but I do kind of think that girls who express themselves in like DDLG ways or like young people ways could do it safer in communities where like men weren't involved, or like men who are worried about being men weren't involved. Because then I wonder about this. Like, I have a whole theory about why women being naked is only a threat if a man is around, but not because he was born a man, but because of how we like kind of raise men. But it's hard to like express it without making it totally clear. So I'm going to make a video. I'm working on this video about it. But yeah, she obviously, I think she knew what she was doing. I feel like she knew what she was doing. And I do feel like she was catering towards men and their desire to have this particular kind of aesthetic in a woman, and a girl, because yeah, the like her character just got way too young looking. It just got way too young looking. And I'm like, girl, please. And then she killed herself. And I think I feel devastated that it came to that. Like, I never want to see someone kill themselves. You know, like I do think, yeah, like it's just, yeah, I think it's sad. I don't know. I know a lot of people didn't care. Like, fuck it, she deserves it. But like, I don't know if anyone deserves to kill themselves. Like, I don't believe in that. Yeah, I don't know. Sad, bro. Sad for everybody. Sad for the men consuming the content. Sad for her creating it. Sad for the girls being, you know, targeted because of the like, it's just sad. You know, I don't like it. I don't like it very much. I don't like it, you know. That says, I think I'm confused on why she would do this if not for appeal to bad people. Yeah, I mean, she was making a lot of money. She was like a top creator. She was probably making 6 figures a month easy. She also, I don't know, kind of gave the energy of like afraid to grow old. And then I kind of wonder about that. Like, was she afraid to grow old? And so she like edited herself down, but then the content was too much, guys. Like, it was too much. She could have edited it down to look 29 or 25. You know what I mean? She didn't have to edit it down to look fucking 12. You know what I mean? Like, or 15. You know, I feel like she could have done it in a way that wasn't so horrible. You know? I don't know. People are fucked up though. And I think that's why we have to promote therapists. Like, hey, you're kind of too fucked up. You got to go to therapy, dude. You know, Chat says she already looked so young. No, she did not. No, she looked old. Like, I disagree. I think she already looked old. Like, her natural photos, she didn't look old. She didn't look young anymore. And I think that probably got to her. Because the truth is the younger you look, the more money you'll make. Unless you're in the MILF category and then you'll make money. But she didn't look young. Which plays into the pressure to look young. And then realizing how much money she could make editing it. Right? Like, yeah. Like, I get it. Like, I get that pressure. Which is why when you go into sex work or anything like this, I do think you have to, you know, look, like, that's not a young person, right? Like, that's at least a woman in her mid-30s. And that's too old for a lot of sex work. Unless, again, you get to your 50s and then you're doing MILF content. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about the male market. If you're appealing to the male market, you're too old. That's, you know, you have to, unless you up and become like a dominatrix, and then your age kind of gets allowance. But yeah, like, she was aging out of the demographic that was going to pay the most money, because there's a huge call, a huge demand for basically like pedophile bait content, for young girl content, for she's so young and virginal content. You know what I mean? Yeah, she looked 36. She was 36? Yeah, she looked 36 for sure. Yeah. Ooh, Chet says new FKA Twigs video just dropped. Love her. She's killing it this season. Damn. FKA Twigs is literally killing it. The year of our Lord, FKA Twigs, girls. She is killing it. Her content's been so good. Yeah, I don't know. Chet says, I wonder if it's an intersection between body dysmorphia and addiction. Honestly, bros, very much could be. I really could see that. I think you're onto something. Yeah, I really, really could see that. I think there is yeah, you know, it's scary when you work in a field where you're going to age out of it. You know, it's scary when you're an athlete and you know one day you'll be too old to do it. I think it's scary. Like, you know, ballerinas, they say they have 2 deaths. The physical one and then the ballerina one. Like, you will die twice in your life. Like, there's a time clock, and there is one with sex work to some extent, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. All right. Let's go ahead and go to this video. I'm so excited for this. Oh my God, my allergies are crazy. Okay, I'm going to have you listen to this video while I get my allergies under control here. We're going to jump into the levels content. So if you guys don't know, I created an observational philosophy. It's in the works. I'm working on it. I make content I updated on occasion. And this is the levels 1 through 5. And we're going to talk about what a 2, who people think is a 4, could look like. But he's at most maybe a 3, most likely just a 2. But let's talk about this TikTok that I found just posted this week. No hate to this content creator. I think he's expressing something that is felt by many, many, many people. It got 12,000 comments on the post, 300,000 likes. So people resonated with it. I think this resonates with a lot of people. And a lot of people who see my levels might place themselves as 4s when they see this. But this is, in my mind, a pretty good example of a 2, much more than a 4. And let's see if you guys can spot the difference. You guys let me know while you listen.
Feel like you're too aware of how fake. Does anyone else feel like you're too aware of how fake society is to participate in it properly? You know that all the months are just made up by someone. All the religions are just made up. All of the street names are made up. The money's fake. The jobs are mostly fake. The government is fake. It doesn't actually serve the people. Everything is just bullshit, and you can see through all of it. And it's just too hard to participate in a full heart way. You know, the saying ignorance is bliss is so true, because once you realize all of this whole matrix that's formed around you, you can't just walk around like everyone else participating willingly. Does anyone else feel like...
Okay, what did we spot? What do you guys think, if you're familiar with the levels? What makes him a 2 versus a 4? And then I'm going to bring up my paint while we put this together. Okay, let's see. Paint. Bring out paint. Okay, people are saying Matrix. Matrix, good catch, good catch. Okay, the Matrix, that's a good catch. Let's see. People aren't fake. They are themselves. It's surface level rejection. Great point. Great catch. Great catch. No actual analysis, just noticing life. Great point. That says the way he speaks of everything being fake, as if there are things that aren't fake out there that society is ignoring. That says cannot fully participate in. The framing automatically makes others NPCs in his mind. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So people really resonated with this TikTok. Actually, let me see if I can show you his comment section. I think that will give us another. Let me see here. Okay, so let's go over his comment section. This is what causes depression. First comment. I'm just annoyed that it even costs money to not participate. Heavy on the jobs are fake. Most of the jobs are pointless busy work. Everything besides nature, which we are destroying, is made up. Our food is fake. Designer clothes are fake. Paying insane amounts of money for someone's name on it blows my mind. The world's a stage, and absolutely no one knows what they're doing. Even as a small child, I remember walking down the hallway of school feeling a complete disconnect, saying none of this makes sense over and over. Chat says, and if you bring it up, you're looked at as insane or a conspiracy theorist. Chat says, and it's depressing. Not my chat, his chat. And it's depressing. Don't go down the rabbit hole. Society is weird. Wait until you realize money slavery taught by schools is not a form of freedom, but a form of ... I'm going insane by how everything repeats in cycles, trends, music, styles, days, nights, years, politics, young people, awakening, young people being rebellious. It's always the same. Chat says, or not my chat, his chat says the system is made up by rich for the rich. It's sickening. It's a weird feeling, 100%. And when we speak about it, we are crazy, screaming. Fun, isn't it? Being awake in the world that is mostly sleepwalking. Okay. Good times. Good times. Okay, so hold on. Paint. Delete these. Okay, so let me bring paint out for us. Get a little crafty up in here. Get a little crafty. Okay, hold on. Let me read my chat. My chat. Feels like done being curious. Chat says everything humanity does is fake. The characters on the keyboard are fake. Words are fake. Chat says almost realized everything is a construct, but look at a sharp right turn and ended up sounding like a 14-year-old in Reddit. Oh, chat says, can we listen to it again? Yeah, do you guys want to listen to it again? Yeah, I love this. Let's listen to it one more time. Hold on. Switching sides. Switching sides. One more time.
But you're too aware of how fake.
Let's say you...
Does anyone else feel like you're too aware of how fake society is to participate in it properly? You know that all the months are just made up by someone. All the religions are just made up. All of the street names are made up. The money's fake. The jobs are mostly fake. The government is fake. It doesn't actually serve the people. Everything is just bullshit, and you can see through all of it. And it's just too hard to participate in a full heart way. The saying ignorance is bliss is so true, because once you realize all of this whole matrix that's formed around you, you can't just walk around like everyone else participating willingly. Does anyone else feel like...
Okay, right? Oh, that Jordan Peters jump scare really had me, bro. He came out of nowhere. Let's say, let's say no. Okay, Peterson, let's say no. Okay, now. Let me see. I'm just reading your chats. It's observing that everything is a construct, but the ceiling for his introspection is stopping short. Absolutely. Let's see. I'm constructing a whole world and languages for it. Constructs are fun if you're aware and not constrained by it. Everything is fake seems like a paradox to me. Yeah. So what he does is okay. So, oops. So the construct of a 2 is a 2's in the bubble. Okay. But let's say the 2 starts off. Okay, and like I said, wow, Brittany, that's a very great straight line. Stay with me here. So actually, I think he's like here, maybe. Let's say he's like a 2B, maybe, right? CBA. Or maybe he's a 2B who thinks he's an A, but I think he's a 2B, right? That's where I would place him. And I would say that he thinks he's done something with this. without understanding that there's a whole other world outside of that scope. So he thinks this whole thing is the Matrix, and he is aware of it because he sees all of this. But the irony, because I think 2Bs can see As better than, but they don't get it. They don't get the A. He sounds like a 2A, and he could be, but I don't think he is. I think he's a 2B who thinks he's a 2A. You know what I'm saying? But I could be wrong. Just the way he talked, right? Just the way he talked, you know? But I don't know. Obviously, I can't get into his head. But he doesn't understand there's a whole other world outside of this bubble. And so he thinks he like figured it out, right? So then people will say, oh, I know what a 4 is. Because a 4 has the realization that this bubble, there's more than just this bubble, this matrix, right? But there is no matrix. The reason being a 4 is so hard is because you realize there is no fakeness. There is no matrix. There is no sheep. There is no NPCs. There are nothing. They're just people, humans being human. There is no conspiracy. There is no explanation in your conspiracy bubbles. The explanation just is. So the reason being a 4 is so scary is like, oh, it's not that everything is fake. It's that everything is a construct that feels so real because of our perception with it. Why is this thing so real to us? Why does this thing symbolize so much to us? I'm watching season 3 of, is it season 3 of Dr. Stone? They just introduced money back into the world, and I'm gagging. I'm like, no, you have this perfect scenario. Why would you introduce money back into the universe? And a big part of it is it's playing on what humans know. We play on this idea of like, wait, there are just a group of humans and humans all over the world that have like figured out bartering and trading and money and status, and it's all a part of our nature. But it is, and this is why being a 4 is so difficult, you have to accept that it's not about people being NPCs or about them being fake. It's about their nature. Humans are nature, and you can't force them to be different than they are. They can only learn over time how to be different. And so then you have to contend with that reality of, okay, like everything I thought was real is as real as my perception, but maybe isn't as real as my perception. So how do I accept that people are on a journey? How do I accept that people are doing what they think is right? That people are working within their reality? That people, they're not fake. They're just people. And then you work on being okay with that. You work on accepting it. You work with like, okay. And then 5 framework is accepting that that's just people. Like that's what reality is, yourself included. There are no NPCs. There are just people. You are not more awake than other people. I am not better than other people. Being a 5 isn't about thinking you're smarter or more awake than people. It's about accepting that you're not different from anybody else. None of us are better than anyone else. We're just existing. Now, that's the micro or macro belief, right? But the micro belief is that we can say, oh, I'm better than you because I don't hold bigotry, or I'm better than you because I don't hold this thing. But is it even true? So micro and macro are different things. On the macro, we're all the same. But on the micro, we play differently because we're having a different perception with our reality. People don't live in the macro. They live in the micro. People don't view their lives. Okay, here. Let's go back to the paint. Okay. People, humans, generally speaking, view their lives in relation to this bubble. They don't exist, even though this is the moon or the sun. Let's say this is the planets. Okay, we've got all these planets and these stars in the sky. Even though there's a whole other universe, they don't really live their life properly embodying the reality that like they are just one planet in one solar system. Like they're not really embodying that reality. And when you really embody that reality, it can kind of make you go insane, which is what happens to conspiracy theorists. So then what people do is they have the reality shift where they're like, oh my God, wait, we're just like floating on a rock. Then they become nihilistic, and then they sink into depression because they become hopeless. Hence like the meaning crisis. Don't become hopeless. Become curious, excited, thrilled, oh, intrigued maybe. But you have to go through a stage. I was depressed for most of my life, right? So I get it. But eventually you have the realization of like, oh, there's nothing wrong with just being a person on a floating rock who doesn't understand what it all means. There's nothing wrong with that. It just gives us an opportunity to find out what it means. But then because there's billions of people on the planet who feel like they know what it means and they've come up with the answers, then they form reality around those bubbles. Including this guy who's calling everybody a NPC and that we live in the Matrix, but he formed himself a bubble, and now he did the thing that is so ironic. Okay? So he left this bubble and just hopped into a different one. But that different one still lives within that bubble that he thinks is so fake, like society's so fake. Cool, bro. You're just like in a different bubble, bro, and within the bubble. You didn't leave the way you think you left. You just went from one bubble to another bubble to another bubble, but it's all still two bubbles. He didn't really leave. He's just having a different relationship with perception. But eventually, and this is what's hard, eventually you go from 2 to 3 to 4. Eventually you pop out of all of those bubbles into the curiosity of the 3, but you're not sure, so you go back down to 2. Remember, because it's like a relationship between the 2. So you're still, the 3s are still connected to the 2s. But eventually, if you decide to go for 4, well, now the 2 bubbles, there is no sheep, there is no NPCs, there's just people, and you are also people, because we're not different. Okay? And then what you realize is there's nothing wrong with bubbles. There's nothing wrong with perception. There's nothing wrong with religion. There's nothing wrong with belief. There's nothing wrong with, being a person. The question is, can we have a deeper, more meaningful relationship with our biological experience? Can we have a deeper relationship with our biological experience? And I think so. So that's my premise. Oh, fuck. What happened? Oh, I think, hold on, let me get paint back up. I think I pressed a button on my keyboard. So my contribution to the theory is that I think, okay, let me make sure here. I think that there are, okay, that we all start off in the 2 bubbles and we have an opportunity to expand out, to keep expanding out. And we don't know what's there, but that's the fun of it all. We don't know. But it's more than this. It's more than just this little perception here. And this allows me to see people differently with more compassion. This allows me to see people and have more patience. It also allows me to pick and choose when I'm going to be compassionate. Because I think the 2 bubbles make it sound like, oh, you think you're a 5, so you always have to be compassionate with everybody you talk to. With peace and love, girl, I'm also still an animal evolved on a planet. I will rip your throat out. And then I will mourn you for having the audacity of pissing me off today. Okay? With peace and love. But I get it, girl. That's the thing. I know I'm just an animal. So don't come at me. Okay? But that's the dilemma. They think, oh, 5 framework means that I'm going to have the most perfect patience in the whole world, that I could torture somebody and they wouldn't react. Girl, I will slap you. Okay? Slap you. Make you into a meat pie. Sell you at the farmer's market. Don't even come at me. But we don't have to do that, which kind of is what this guy, when he says like, oh, everyone's so fake, everything's made up. Yeah, but it's not made up for nothing. It's their biological experience. It's their animal experience. I could tell that person, stop fucking bothering me, bro. Stop trolling me. You don't have to do that. And they're like, no, I have to. I have to piss off this girl. Okay. Because like they can't. They cannot not do it. Myron Gaines cannot not be Myron. Sneeko can't not be Myron. They have to. Wait, Sneeko can't be not Sneeko. They have to do it. They don't have, they have the potential, but they keep choosing to keep being those people because that's their limitation right now. They're not really challenging themselves. They're not really being somebody different. You know what I mean? So they're going to keep nagging and we're going to keep responding. But at the end of the day, I can't expect them to be different because you can't, that's what 4-ness is. It's not about people being NPCs or sheep. It's about people being animals on a planet having a biological experience. I can't ask them to be different than they are. I don't ask the dog to be different than it is. But you can train a dog, have a relationship with a dog, build a a compassionate relationship with a dog. You can have over time a dog change, its personality even change, its habits change, but you can't ask the dog to change. You can only live with it long enough and have a relationship with it long enough to maybe encourage the change. That's what people are. We're animals. You can't demand change. Politically, we demand change, but that's different, girlies. That's different. Okay? Change comes whether people like it or not. That's different. I'm talking about internal philosophical change. That's okay. Philosophical, embodied change. You cannot force people to change. That's why with politics, we don't wait for people to change. We force them using the law and police officers to play along. We don't need people to get on board in an embodied sense to make them follow the law, or in some cases, not follow the law. Right? So here he is. It's calling everybody the Matrix and sheeple and NPCs. It's like, sir, what are you though? Because like that is the limitation of the language. But it's hard to hold two contradictory thoughts, right? Like we're all humans gonna human, but I'm still gonna defend myself. People are like, why? If I don't have a choice, why would you defend yourself? The same way you would defend yourself against a lion. I'm not gonna ask I might ask the lion. I think that's what Treadwell's work did. Is Treadwell proved you could communicate with bears and that they might not kill you, but you meet the wrong bear at the wrong time and he could kill you. But I think there's a reason none of the bears killed him until then. Because none of the bears he met wanted to kill him. But the bear he did meet eventually was like, I'm going to eat this guy. The bear was starving. The bear hadn't got into hibernation. The bear was strangely very sickly. And the bear that killed him wasn't even a bear he really knew. It was like a new bear. And he's like, oh, hey, bear, why aren't you resting with all my friend bears? He was about to get picked up. Treadwell was about to get picked up. He was like days away or the day away from getting picked up by to go back home because the bears were going into hibernation. The only reason that bear killed him is because it was that specific bear, not because it was a bear. And I believe that about people. I believe that about all animals evolved over time, which we all are. I think it's not a matter of like ex-human, like all men will kill you. It's which men will kill you. I don't think all bears will kill you. It's about which bear will kill you. And I think we're in denial of that, like deeply in denial of it. I think we can't accept that we're a part of the planet. We can't accept we have limitations because of our biology. And we can't accept that the limitations we've put on ourselves are just the beginning. This man, this TikToker already gave a limitation to himself that was not necessary, right? Okay? He's in this bubble. Okay, no. Okay? He's in this bubble and he's already decided this is it. This is the limit to the scope. Everybody's fake, everything sucks, but this is his limit. He has no idea the rest of this is out here. He has no fucking clue. And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say, hey, I know this is your whole reality. It's so valid. But did you also know you could also check out reality over here? Over here, over here, over here, over here. You could find out so many things. It's like, this is another way to remember bubbles, guys. Book talk bubble, debate bro bubble, politics bubble, philosophy bubble, ballet bubble, sex work bubble, anime bubble. You know, you could spend your whole life learning about one bubble and never know about the others. Then why do we think that there's not more bubbles universally to learn about? If we know for a fact we can go our whole life without ever learning about one particular bubble. If we know as human beings, just logically, we know that there are so many different ways to believe. Atheists talk about this with religious people. Oh, congratulations, you were born into the perfect religion and the correct God, and out of billions of people on earth, you magically ended up in the right religion. Wow. That's amazing. How'd you do that? You know, it's supposed to be a point of explaining to people, like, why do you think you were born into the perfect religion? Like, how does that fucking make any sense? But then religious people are like, nah, it makes sense. And it's like, okay, but does it make sense? Same thing with every other belief we have. Why do atheists stop short? Why does Sam Harris and what's his name, Ricky Gervais and all these people, why do they stop short? Why do they become misogynist? Why are they Islamophobic? Why do they become, like, why do they stop short? If they were able to use this argument against religious people, why would they stop there? Because they're twos. How could you see? I was in that bubble. I was reading all the books, watching all the specials, trying to consume it. And I was like, hey, I think we're stopping. I feel like there's more. They're like, no, this is it. And I'm like, okay, but I think there's more. because the same argument you're using implies there's more beyond this. You think, yes, Richard Dawkins too, misogynist, limited thinker. I don't want to play with your dragon. Jordan, I don't want to do it. Well, listen, Dawkins, I just want you to touch my dragon for a second, because if fire's a predator, are dragons predators? I'm a scientist. I don't want to touch your dragon. I'm a scientist. Like, that's the conversations between the greatest intelligent men on the internet. They can't fucking just like figure it out. The greatest, smartest men on the internet are misogynists. That's what we have. That's it. Excuse me for participating in my hoodie on the internet by saying I think I might know more than these two white men whose only conclusion to come to is fat women are ugly and trans people aren't real. Thanks, bros. Super appreciate your input. You did what you did. You contributed. Great. I'm going to clean my room and make my bed. That's what I learned from Jordan Peterson. And Dawkins, thanks, bro. God's not real. I appreciate you. Now shut the fuck up and let's move the fuck on. Because Jesus Christ is like the elementary of thinking. It's like I'm seriously back in kindergarten every time I watch these men talk. I'm like, Jesus, we already did this. We've already taken this class. Can we get to the next advanced section of it, please? Can we move the fuck on? Okay. So atheists who have the audacity to debate religious people also sell themselves short. It's like you guys spent your whole life dedicated to popping this bubble for the religious. You couldn't pop your own. Pop your own fucking bubble, or don't, because you're humans and I can't force you to. But also, like, it's a journey and you're going to do it when you want. You know, it's like, Jesus, y'all think you're so fucking bright, bros. The moment you think you're smarter than everyone else, I think you failed introspection. I think the moment truly that you think you are genuinely smarter than everyone else, which is not the same thing as saying you're smarter than some people. I'm definitely smarter than some people, but I am certainly not smarter than everybody else. The moment you really think you're the smartest person in the room, you failed. And I think a lot of these men truly think they are the smartest people in the room, that they have the audacity to tweet the way they tweet, to say the things they have the audacity to say, you know? It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Anyways, okay. Thoughts. I've been ranting long enough. Okay. Chat says Richard Dawkins invented the concept of memes, said war was a bad meme. I can't realize he's stuck in a meme of misogyny. Even recently, I would love to give him some leeway, but no. Because you know Iman, what's her name? The boxer who everyone said was a man. He was a part of that group of people who tweeted and called her a man. And I'm like, Iman Khalif, what was her name? Leave her alone. Leave her alone, you loser. But here he is on Twitter tweeting about how she's a man. Leave her alone. It's like, this is the greatest minds. Like, these are our greatest contributors. And look, they're way older than me, bro. I'm just a baby. I'm growing up. I'm going to hit 40, bro, and I'm going to be ready. You guys get ready, girls. This is going to be a journey, okay? I'm going to hit 40, and I'm going to be so fucking ready, okay? As I get the streamer language out of my potty mouth, okay? But they're the grown-ups. They're the ones with the degrees. They're the ones with the education, and they're still tweeting, sorry, not beautiful. These Machiavellian mothers chopping off the tits of their daughters. I'm smart, hee hee. I'm so smart. Bro, get off the fucking microphone, bro. How is this helpful? You know? How is this helpful? Okay? Ridiculous. Ridiculous. All right. Thoughts, questions, comments? That says I used to think Sam Harris was so smart. I mean, to be fair, at the time, I think they were really smart. I think, you know, Jordan Peterson, funny enough, talks about this. IQ does diminish over time. And I think it's showing in all of these men. I think you want to talk about IQ? Y'all are sliding deep in the deep end, bro. I think you lost your way. And I think that's what's happening. As the elderly get older, they need to fucking retire so the rest of us can take over. Because our brains are still sharp as fuck. Okay? And we need to fucking use it. But I do think that's what's happening. I think they were smart for the time that they were there. You know, I think they were the first of their kind. I think we needed those people to exist. I think it was revolutionary to say, what if I didn't believe in God? And what if I was a moral person? I think that's true. But I think now all these fuckers are entering their 60s and 70s. And I think they're fucking slowing down and they don't realize it. Retire, boomers, so the rest of us can take over. Okay? And we have to create a system to allow them to retire in the first place. I'm not saying people in their elder years can't still contribute. I'm saying know your fucking place. And know in which way you've become bigoted and prejudiced and you've become limited in your thought process. And you might call it ageism, and I hear you crying in my comments right now, but I need you to know something. Hold on, I'm finding it. I was like, Brittany, I'm finding it. I really appreciate everything you've done. But if you continue talking the way you're talking, you're going to not only ruin your legacy, but you're going to become the enemy of any progression. And if that's who you want to be, then you're no better than the people you stood up against 30 years ago. You are becoming them. Congratulations, you've become your mother. You've become your mother. Okay? I'm not trying to come out here and be my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like with peace and love. It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, now, that's what I wanted to talk about today. And then tomorrow I'll come back. I have so many other things to show you. I'm also going to continue doing Love is Blind. So I'm going to go do that. Unless you guys have any comments, questions. Does anybody want to talk about anything while you have me? Or are we ready to call it a day? Because I really feel like, first of all, we got through today's live stream really fast, but also I think it was a banger of a live stream, let me tell you. But every time I see one of these videos, I go, oh, there it is. A 2 who thinks they're a 4. A 2 who comes across my content and goes, Brittany, I think I'm a 4. Sit down, girl. You're a 2. I love you. Matrix, NPC, bots, sheep, 2 language. Stop pretending you're better than other people. You're not. You're not more aware. You're not better. You're simply there. And also, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned how autism is playing a role in this. I'll find it tomorrow. There's an autistic creator that came under a lot of flack because he was making the argument that autistic people are more intelligent and self-aware than neurotypical people. Just a reminder, how self-aware you're going to be if you think you're the smartest person in the room when you can't even read social cues. So let's, with peace and love, remind ourselves, nobody is the smartest. I make mistakes, you make mistakes. And here's the flaw in thinking you're smart, is you're not allowed to make mistakes. People have accused me of being manipulative and lying because they can't imagine that I wouldn't be able to read social cues. But I'm sorry to tell you, this perfect ass looking bitch right here makes mistakes. I sometimes don't read the social cues. Sometimes I don't understand what you're saying. Sometimes I know, level 5 here, sometimes I am very confused because I am a human and I am flawed. So this idea that people have in their heads that, oh my God, I'm so self-aware, I can't make any mistakes. That is the flaw of misogyny and patriarchy, telling you that being imperfect is the mistake when perfection was always the disease of the nation, as the great philosopher Beyonce once said. Okay? It was never about being perfect, except in these bubbles where they want you to be. That's why they're stunted, because they have the audacity to think they're introspective and to push narratives about perfection. And the only time they don't allow you to be perfect is when you accidentally say, my heart will go out to you, and you signal to the Nazi communities, in which it was not even a mistake, but they will call it one. Oh, that's a mistake. But everyone else, that's not a mistake. And they'll say, oh, but progressives allow people to get away with things other people can't. Look, pick and choose your bubble and who you want to point to who's being a hypocrite. But first and foremost, look at yourself. Okay? First and foremost, look at yourself. And realize, like, the hypocrisy is in us, and the world is a reflection of us as a whole. You can't exempt yourself from the participation of anything negative in the world. We are all negatively participating in existence. The question is, how do you become less bad? Okay? How do you become less bad? Okay. All right, guys, with that said, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Like the stream. Thank you for being here. Fabulous stream. Very good. Quick, easy. In and out. In and out. I'll see you tomorrow. Can't wait. I'm really looking forward. All right. Bye-bye. 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 Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh my God. Pick up, guys. Pick up. Your mom's calling. Pick up. She's calling.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
Why
Uh-huh.
I only eat popcorn at the movies.
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
Can I be the helpless victim?
Okay, let's see.
No, please don't kill me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.